The women's basketball team continues its three-game homestand with a pair of games at the Kohl Center this week. The Badgers host Dayton on Wednesday at 7 p.m. and then Butler on Sunday at 2 p.m. Head coach Jonathan Tsipis is here. We'll have some opening comments, then take questions.
Well, the opening weekend didn't go the way that we had hoped. On Friday night, we had a bad spell offensively in the second quarter against Charlotte. I thought our kids did a great job on the glass, and that allowed us to kind of get to a run in the third quarter where we cut it and had two chances to get it to 5, and weren't able to push those through. And then getting ready, yesterday's game is against a team that you know what they're going to do. Last year, they were in the top 5 in the country. St. Francis was in three-pointers attempted, including a game where they had attempted 51 threes. They were, after the first quarter yesterday, on pace for 60 attempts. They ended up with 44. But all things said, we were able to put ourselves in a position, I felt, in the last 5 minutes to win the game. And we weren't able to do things that I think are very controllable. It's great to score 100 points. The fans like that. If we have to win a game 40-39, that's what coaches like, to make sure that you get the win. So I was proud of our kids on how they battled. I thought yesterday's game was up and down. How we finished some quarters really, I thought, gave St. Francis some momentum at the end of the first quarter. They scored 7 straight. At the end of the third quarter, they scored 7 straight, and we kept fighting back. But Caleb McMorris on the offensive end was really had a special game. Aviana Young, I thought, was very good with a double-double. But when you score 100 points and you still turn the ball over like we did, we just left ourselves with controllable things, with lack of possessions then, as well as converting at the free throw line.
Let's see how much you practice defense. And I know that's a fluky team that you won't face the likes of. Did you stick to what your defensive principles, or did it not apply to the way that game was performed?
Yeah, we didn't stop the ball early enough. I think that was something that we had talked about. That's a core base of our transition defense. And I think one thing is you don't have a lot of people running in the lane the way that they run and sprint to the three-point line. How you rotate has to be a little bit different because they're really not going to ever throw it in the post. And I think that part of things, just a lot of the angles yesterday weren't what they needed to be. And, I think that part of at any point they would take a 3 and from any distance. And we saw that, and one young woman made a 3 from about 35 feet. It was only 3 she made the whole game. But I think understanding that could happen at any point, I still believe that our defense will come, and we'll continue to work on that part. And when you look at 2 games out of a season that's 30 to 34 games, we still have room to grow. And I think that's what I'm looking for, is to be able to meet with the team today and talk about that part of taking our drive, putting it together with just better decision making defensively. Not fouling people, we're over aggressive sometimes in our help, but I do. It is a team, and give all the credit to St. Francis. They did what they wanted to do from an offensive game plan. We've got to do a better job of making people feel uncomfortable.
Jay. Are you still in coaches trying to figure out players and players trying to figure out coaches mode?
I think in the first year, in my experience at George Washington, was that you no matter what year somebody is, there's that part that they're all freshmen, because not only are things maybe being explained in a different way, but you also have that part. You're still trying to build that relationship with them that you build in the recruiting process. And I think that understanding of the highs and the lows of a game, a practice, things going outside of basketball, you're trying to, as much as you meet with them, your staff meets them, understand that part of things as well. So, I think that part of making sure they understand our expectations you start growing a team when the team itself can take those and hold each other accountable more. And I still, even with our leadership council, I think that part, as much as we talk about expectations, is, having a meeting with them before we went to Charlotte on, this is what a typical road trip's going to be like. This is how we're going to conduct ourselves. This is when we're going to meet. This is how we watch film. All those things. They're not just first-time things for freshmen and the transfers. They're first time for all 16 kids on the roster.
Kendra Van Leeuwen's had quite a bit put on her shoulders as your primary point guard. What are you seeing through 2 games? And you know her probably the longest of your freshmen. How do you see her taking on that role that she has right now?
Yeah, I think one thing that as a staff we appreciate about Kendra is that when she does make a mistake with something, she usually doesn't make the same mistake twice, which is, I think, something you see sometime with freshmen, or you see it turn into where it snowballs a little bit. And I still think she's trying to figure out the pace with everything that's going on, and that part of taking better care of the basketball and putting people in a position to be successful. I think that part, we knew that it would be a lot on any of our point guards with the change, but I think that part is when you coach players who are probably harder on themselves than you're ever harder on them, that part, there's going to be that growth. And, I think the team understands that part, and they've got to help her more too. I think that's part of this whole process. Even when our point guards, yesterday with St. Francis pressing the whole time, we'd only break it as well as the other people getting to the right spots and then taking advantage and making sure and not having Kendra have to think for all 5 of them for every minute that she's out there.
Diane, in the back.
Kayla Loves obviously scored double figures in both games this season. Is she kind of just getting to the point where you expected her to be, especially offensively?
Yeah, I think she's diversified her game, and I think you saw the different levels of it yesterday where, she knocked down 3, she got to the free throw line, she got to the rim, she scores in set, she scores in transition. One of the things I've been pleased with is how she's rebounded the ball as well. But I think that aggressive nature, I'm not sure when we had our first couple of conversations that 22 field goal attempts was something that was in her mind. And I think that's a progress of how you have to build a score. Is you can't have them worried about shots they're taking. And obviously we want to take well-balanced shots that they're square and reading the defense correctly. But, I think that from an aggression standpoint, I'm pleased with the progress that she's making. So I think that part of, yesterday after having a shot blocked out of bounds in the last 20 seconds of not having any hesitation, once it was kind of all sorted out, we got the ball back in bounds for her to take another one, for us to have a chance to get the game to 1 possession, and then we got the steal and had the 3 that, at the buzzer that would have tied it.
Anything else for Coach? All right. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.